Hi, this is Dr. Neil Schwartz. Today I'd like to start a new series that discusses every system of the body, because I believe that when people understand the body a little better, they start to take care of it a little better. Just like people who know cars real well, they drive their car a little smoother and they change their oil on time, and those who know nothing about cars may or may not take care of their car perfectly. The same may be true for the body. At least that's my hunch, is that the more people know about the body, the more they will consider taking care of it. So for today, let's talk about the cardiovascular system. And like always, I'll be converting the language to one that makes sense logically and requires no translation with the medical books if possible. So here's the cardiovascular system. It's basically just made up of a pump in the middle of your chest and vessels going around to all of your other organs. To understand the cardiovascular system, all you have to know is why does this blood need to travel all over your body? What's the point? And once you get that point, it all makes sense. The first is to bring oxygen and nutrients to your vital organs, and the second is to bring waste away from your vital organs. The way the heart interacts with the lungs is such that oxygen in your lungs transfers to the blood, and then that oxygenated blood goes around to all your other tissues to give oxygen. For example, our brain needs oxygen and sugar all the time. So the heart is constantly pumping oxygen-rich and sugar-rich blood right up these huge vessels right into the brain at all times. The rest of your tissues need the same oxygen-rich blood and nutrient-rich blood as well. And so there's many branches coming off the heart, and it'll go to every organ that we'll ever talk about will need that oxygen-rich blood. And then there's veins coming back from each vital organ that bring deoxygenated or blood that's carrying CO2 back to the lungs so that it can be blown off. So once you understand the basic function of the cardiovascular system is to pump oxygen-rich blood to all vital tissues and to bring back waste products from all vital tissues, you'll start to understand the relationship between the heart and the lungs. The lungs are responsible for oxygenating that blood, and we can get into that when we talk about the respiratory system. Today we're talking about the cardiovascular system, much like plumbing. It's a lot of mechanical engineering, and although there's a lot of neuroendocrine and sophisticated physiology going on at all times in the cardiovascular system, in the walls of the vessels, and in every other system that's related to it, let's today just look at the cardiovascular system as a pump and vessels. And then we ask the question, why do we need these vessels? Why do we need that pump? It's very basic. We just need to get oxygen-rich blood to all the tissues and pull back waste products from the tissues, and do this on a continuous basis to keep the tissues healthy. Now, here's the point of this video. How does this information relate to our day-to-day hygiene of our body and day-to-day health? Here's how. If you think of the cardiovascular system as a mechanical system, just like a car, one with hoses that can actually be touched with your finger, some of which are bigger than a garden hose, and others are microscopically small. But when you think of it as a tangible system of tubes, you start to understand, just like your garden hose out in the yard, that you have to take care of these tubes, or they'll eventually get brittle, or they'll get hardened, or they'll lose their flexibility, or they'll just begin to wear out and eventually break. That's how you should think about your cardiovascular system. Just like a car, it's very mechanical. There's many other physiological functions going on, but if you simplify it down to just the mechanics, you'll realize how if you keep a high blood pressure, that's like keeping a high pressure in something under the hood of your car, something's eventually going to break. So if you're living with a high blood pressure, your heart will eventually fail. And that's because it's pushing up against that high pressure. If you're living with a high blood pressure, your valves will eventually fail because they're pushing up against the high blood pressure. If you have a high blood pressure, your arteries will harden more quickly than they should because of that high pressure. So hopefully this quick anatomy and physiology session will just make you think a little more mechanically. Sometimes we think of our body as just a bag of unknown, and in that unknown, you don't really realize that you can take care of this system much like you take care of a car, especially the cardiovascular system. It's highly mechanical. Those valves are just like the valves you see in those motor oil commercials. The more you take care of them, the less they will break. Now, maybe preserving your body or cardiovascular system is not important to you until you think about the symptoms. Here are some of the symptoms that you have when your heart and vessels aren't working right. Fatigue, depression, you get slower, You can't handle exercise. You become intolerant to exercise. You're at higher risk of impotence. You're at higher risk of feeling older than your age. When you think about it in terms of symptoms, it may have more of an impact on you emotionally, and you may take care of your cardiovascular system like you would take care of a new Ferrari. And that's the point of this video. I hope it helps. We'll discuss other systems of the body later, and I hope you guys are enjoying the simplified language that we're going to be using to describe all the functions of the body. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.